Closed captioning for Education Matters is sponsored by Margaret's Garden Adult Daycare and Will Lou Gray Opportunity School out of West Columbia. Attention, South Carolina students and parents. Beginning this week, South Carolina students will undergo a brand new assessment test, and it's called the ACT Aspire, as well as ACT WorkKeys. Education Matters is next. Good Sunday morning to you and welcome inside of Education Matters. My name is Donna Moore Wesby, your host of Education Matters, where learning is living. Thanks so much for watching WRDW Channel 12. Today's broadcast will definitely be a very informative broadcast. I challenge you to stay with us the entire hour. If you have students or grandchildren in South Carolina schools, you will definitely need to know about the new assessment tests that we'll be giving beginning in just a couple of days. My guest, Dr. Randy Stowe, is a part of the Aiken County Public School District, Director of Administrative Services, and is extremely knowledgeable about these assessment tests, and he will be our guest today. Of course, we need to start by thanking the sponsors of Education Matters, and they are Howell Printing out of Aiken, South Carolina. For some reason, I just go directly to Howell Printing. They do such a great job. Full service printer, also offering graphic design services. Security Federal Bank. There are many Security Federal Banks throughout our broadcast coverage area, and they also are open in several of their branches 6 days a week. Will Lou Gray Opportunity School out of West Columbia, South Carolina's premier alternative education school for students ages 16 to 19. Also, Wesby's Products and Services, creator of Dawn Seasoning Delight, all-purpose seasoning and marinade. Also, Margaret's Garden Adult Daycare. And yes, Margaret's Garden is officially open, and they just had on yesterday their open house, and we're so excited for Margaret's Garden being in the area, and we sure hope you'll go by and take a look at their beautiful facility. The University of South Carolina in Aiken, looking forward to being at USCA in August for the Education Matters Are You Ready to Be Grown conference. Thanks so much to USCA for being one of our sponsors. And then finally, Access Chiropractic, where the chiropractor is Dr. Blair Bradley. Thanks to our corporate sponsors. And then moving on to our personal sponsors, these are friends of Education Matters. Now I want to issue a disclaimer. If you're interested in sponsorship, but you would like to remain anonymous, that is certainly doable. We will honor your wishes and desires, but most of all, we would appreciate your support of the mission for Education Matters. Our personal sponsors, Bill and Joy Bradley of Aiken, Sharon White of Aiken, Isaac and Betty Rucker, my parents, and then finally Henry and Nancy Craig. If you're interested in becoming a part of our awesome sponsorship family, you will get those details throughout today's broadcast. Okay, moving on to this week's chalkboard reminder. It's a very simple one. Please support the sponsors who support the mission of Education Matters. I just went through the litany of sponsors, some that have been with us for many years and some who are new. We encourage you, we implore you to please support those organizations and businesses who support Education Matters. If you are pleased with what we are doing and you believe in what we're doing, then please know that those businesses support us, and wouldn't you want to support someone who believes in such a cause? So that is your chalkboard reminder for this week. Okay, that sound means it's Word of the Week time inside of Education Matters. Every week we provide you a brand new Word of the Week because there are lots of them in the dictionary. I don't know that I'll ever go through all of them, but we do that so that we can learn something new. whether you are an adult or a child, because our children, you know, you're taking those standardized exams. And here is this week's word: neophyte. Neophyte, you've heard it before. Neophyte is a noun, and it has several meanings. Number one, a recent convert, okay, someone that's kind of changed over to something new. Number two, a newly ordained Roman Catholic priest. Or number three, a beginner, a novice, or tyro. And for this week's sentence, I'll use definition number three. Jackie is a neophyte when it comes to ice skating, which is why she held on to the railing during her first attempt. She wasn't taking any chances. Neophyte is this week's word of the week. Have fun with it. Maybe you're a neophyte at things, different things. I know I'm a neophyte with operating a reading center, but we're excited about that. If you want the words of the week that have appeared this year and previous years, just go to this website. There it is, www.edmat.com. Feel free to also write me on donnawesby@aol.com. Now, don't be afraid to. I am a human being just like you. I've had people to call my phone and get startled when I actually answer. I'm no different than you are. I just happen to produce a broadcast that's on television. I am here to help. And as long as the Lord gives me the ability and the mind to help, that's what we're here to do. Now, don't be impatient. Don't get discouraged if I don't get back with you the same day. It does take me a little time, but trust me, I will get back with you. Okay, moving on to this week's grammar lesson of the week, and hopefully it's a little easy for you, maybe a little easier than some of the previous ones. Today, we're dealing with capitalization. Capitalization. And here we go. Capitalize the first word of every sentence, no matter, every sentence, including direct quotations and sentences in parentheses, unless they are contained within another sentence. Okay, here is an example. In Poor Richard's Almanac, Benjamin Franklin advises, quote, "Wish not too much to live long as to live well. Wish not too much to live long as to live well," close quote. So you see the capital W in the quote, although it's in the middle of the sentence, it is a direct quote, and you have to capitalize there, just like you also have to capitalize at the beginning of that sentence. All right, just a little refresher for you, and that's what the grammar lessons are. Sometimes, you know, it's a brand new for you. In any case, it's all about learning, because inside of Education Matters, learning is living. We've got much to cover today. We have another segment of Dr. May Reether Willis with her Teaching on Purpose segment later on in today's broadcast. But coming up, we're talking about the new assessment test. You're inside of Education Matters. We'll be right back.
$7,000 high school students drop out every school day. That's a line of desks more than 4 miles long. We can keep students in school. Visit boostup.org and take the first step.
Listen, I know you're upset, but it was just one date. And dating's like the stock market. There's ups and downs and ups. So always buy low.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. There are thousands of teens in foster care who would love to put up with you.
What's up, God's people? It's me, Charity, with this week's segment of Charity's Corner, because I've got something to say and I can't hold it in. Whatever you do, please do not act up in church. I know, sometimes you just can't help it. Sometimes that little old lady or that little old man gets up and thinks he or she can sing, and you just gotta crack up laughing. Don't do it. Don't do it. If you know what I know, you don't want that look from mama or that one look from grandma. I don't know what it is about that look, but you don't want it because you know what comes next. They must take these parents to parent school to learn how to do that look. My name is Charity, and it's all in the name of love.
Oh, I just love Charity's Corner. Thanks so much for watching Education Matters. My name is Donna Moore Wesby, your host of Education Matters, where learning is living. If you're new to the Education Matters family, we say welcome. We are here every Sunday morning from 8 to 9 a.m. right here on WRDW Channel 12. And that was our little Charity, because we love the kids. And you ever met a child who has so much to say and you wonder where in the world does it come from? Well, that's an ode to those children. And special thanks to Mr. Caleb Lee Master, a student at Aiken High School, for drawing, conceptualizing Charity, and our very own here at WRDW, Mr. John Gray, for bringing Charity to life. You'll see her from time to time. But today we're talking about assessments. Yes, that can be a nasty little word, but it's very important in the world of education. And certainly a gentleman who knows about assessments all too well is Dr. Randy Stowe, my guest here today. He is Director of Administrative Services. I think I have that right. Yes, for Aiken County Public Schools, and testing you know about. Welcome inside of the broadcast.
Thank you, Ms. Westby. I appreciate you inviting me because we do have testing coming up this week, and starting on Tuesday morning in Aiken County, every 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, and 11th grader will be taking one of the ACT tests.
My goodness.
And that's a lot of students testing at one time.
Now, that's not just Aiken County.
It's throughout the state of South Carolina. I realize there are probably some people from Georgia that are watching here, but this is the South Carolina statewide test.
That's right. And the reason why we wanted to cover this is sometimes parents don't always know about the standardized test that's coming up, or maybe they didn't quite pay attention to that letter in the child's book bag, or maybe the child just crumpled it up. And so we wanted to talk about it because it is some brand new test that this summer our South Carolina legislator changed the state testing program, and the new test is called what, Dr. Stowe?
Well, for the elementary and middle school students, it'll be the ACT Aspire. And then the 11th graders are going to take the ACT, which is the traditional college entrance exam that students have been taking for years and years on Saturday mornings typically. And then on Wednesday, they'll also take a test that we have not been administering except to our career students, the test called the ACT WorkKeys.
Okay.
And so we're excited about all three tests, but we are all neophytes in terms of...
Go ahead, Dr. Stowe. I knew you were going to use the word.
In terms of this particular testing, because it is new.
Yes.
We have been taking a different test. This is a new type of assessment, and we're looking forward to it. We're not sure whether we will continue taking the ACT test beyond this year, because it's a one-year contract, and they'll still be making another decision about whether or not we'll continue with Aspire and ACT and WorkKeys. But for this year, that's the test, and we're looking forward to getting the scores back because all three are very respected tests, and we look forward to the data because the whole point of testing is to improve instruction.
Okay.
And so we want to get the data, and it'll help us improve our program and make sure that we're doing the best for our particular students.
Okay, so not too long ago, South Carolina used the PACT test, the PACT, right?
That several years ago, yes.
Right, and then after that it was PASS, P-A-S-S, and I think even this year, the science and social studies, some of the students will still take the PASS test of that, and now we're on to ACT, and you're saying that the state it's quite possible that this is a 1-year deal. Why so many changes?
Well, we originally changed testing because we had changed our standards in the state. And we've changed back now again to South Carolina standards, and that's one reason why we might go back to another test next year. Now, we are continuing to take, we call it the SC Pass. And we'll still be taking that in elementary school and middle school for science and social studies, because that's the test that assesses the South Carolina Science and Social Studies standards. And the Aspire is in the elementary and middle school is designed to basically assess English and math. Now, we are going to go ahead and take the Aspire Science test. And the reason why we're taking that, and I'm not sure if you picked up what I just said, the 4th and 5th graders will actually be taking the Aspire Science and the SC Pass Science. But we wanted to take the optional Aspire Science test because by taking all of those tests, we can get a score that we will be able to follow from year to year. If we continue taking Aspire tests, that test feeds right into the ACT college entrance exam. And if we take all of the tests, which include science, we'll be able to get benchmark scores every year, and parents will be able to see whether or not their students are on track to do well on the ACT, which is based on the ACT college benchmark standards.
And I was going to ask, why should parents and grandparents even care about these assessment tests? And you've just answered it. It
feeds right into the college entrance exam.
Okay, very good. Now for today, just viewers, so that you can follow along with our dialogue and our discussion, we are giving you a little bit of information to help you get to know this new statewide assessment test in South Carolina now, and our continuum for today's discussion. We'll start with the ACT Aspire, then we'll talk about the ACT, and then we'll talk about the ACT WorkKeys. So there's a continuum. And what is the purpose or the intent of this continuum of the different ACT tests, Dr. Stowe?
Well, I mean, the whole idea in every case is to prepare the students for career or college. And that's the term that we use now, college and career ready. And that's also why on the high school level, we're giving both the ACT and WorkKeys, because the ACT is a college entrance exam, and WorkKeys is a test to assess how well students will perform in the workplace. In fact, we call the score from WorkKeys a portable employment credential.
And we'll talk more about that later on.
But so that's the whole point, though, is looking at college and career readiness.
Now, I like this, and I like the point of somebody looking at the next step readiness, because as a former employer, it always concerned me about the readiness of students coming out of high school for the world of work or for the next step, which for some could be work or college. And it's good to see that at least there will be an assessment that lets us know. Now, what subjects will be assessed with the ACT Aspire?
I mean, basically it's English, math, and science. But English is actually broken up into language arts, reading, and writing. And then we'll take math and science. And as I said, the science is actually optional, but we are taking that so that we can get those benchmark scores.
Now I understand that there are several significant differences in the ACT Aspire test compared to what students were used to perhaps with the PASS share some of those. I know the big thing is the time that the test is timed.
Well, I mean, it's actually assessing different standards,
Okay.
which the teachers are real concerned about. But the Aspire is a timed test. Now, on the SC Pass, which we've been taking for the last few years, the students could take as much time as they needed. Now, admittedly, most students finished in about an hour, whereas on the Aspire test, it's actually timed. In fact, that's one of the things that I've been dealing with because I am in charge of the testing program for the entire district, and I've been working with the school testing coordinators, and they have to be very careful to time the test to the second, and they stress making sure they have 2 timepieces and so forth, and 5 minutes before it's over, they remind the students, basically a 5-minute warning. But because the tests are timed, the teachers have to prepare the students differently.
Okay.
And let me give you the best example,
Yeah.
and the one we're most concerned about is writing. Now, we've been teaching students that in terms of writing, you brainstorm, you outline, you write a rough draft,
Correct.
and you write a final draft.
Yes.
You don't have time to do that in 30 minutes, and there'll be a 30-minute time. And so we're having to teach the students to do what we call a quick write.
Okay.
Now, they do need to take some time and organize their thoughts, and maybe even a simple outline. But then they've got to produce the final draft. Now, it's okay for them to mark through things and so forth and edit it. Because they'll still grade that, and they wouldn't count off just because you've marked through a word or corrected something. But they've still got to produce that final draft in 30 minutes.
Wow.
And they will get a 5-minute warning, but when the time stops, every student has to put their pencil down.
What about those students who don't get to complete any part of the tests? How will that work against them or for them, in the whole process?
Well, I mean, if they don't answer a question, they'll miss the question. And so we do tell the students, particularly on the multiple choice questions, that if you don't know, make your best guess. So don't leave it blank.
Okay.
And that's just a basic test-taking technique.
Well,
But-
I've seen some tests, though, where they say don't guess, but you're saying for the ACT Aspire to make an educated guess?
Yes, make an educated guess. There is no penalty for guessing.
Okay.
And that'll follow through for the ACT.
Okay.
But on the writing, it's very possible that some of the students will be in the middle, and they'll just stop at that point. But at the same time, everybody across the country who's taking the Aspire test, and this is a test that's taken
It's
across the
statewide,
country,
right.
has the same time limit. So you're still comparing apples to apples, because
Okay.
everybody has the same time limit. And we have been spending a lot of time this year, the teachers, making sure that the students feel comfortable with a short, quick write.
Well, I could see, because of working with students at the Reading Center, there are some students who will get a little intimidated by the fact that it's a timed test. And what types of measures are being put in place to help those students who may have test anxiety? They have anxiety already for the fact that there's a test, but if a child already knows he or she doesn't finish the test, then it could possibly take them out from a mental standpoint, to do well on the next portion. So how do we, keep the students encouraged, especially with this being a time test?
Well, test anxiety is a real issue with some students, and I've seen different numbers on that. Sometimes it says maybe 20% of the students it affects their scores a lot, and then a smaller percentage it affects their scores severely. But what we've been doing is practicing the test.
That's good.
And in our writing practice, we've been timing the writing. And as I say, we've been teaching quick writing. And again, if the students will understand that everyone faces the same time limit, and also the time limit is to the advantage of the students in the long run.
How so?
We're spending too much time testing.
Okay.
Now,
I will agree to that.
Back with the old test, We've had students that would sit there for 3 hours just really trying to get it absolutely perfect. And that's not necessary. In the real world, you've got to produce.
Yeah.
With a
Well,
time.
you have deadlines.
Deadlines with a time limit. And in fact, I suspect that a lot of the parents remember back the testing 15 years ago was always timed. And if anybody who's taken the ACT or the SAT is familiar with a timed test. But with the time test on Aspire, the most they'll test in any one day is an hour.
Yeah, I'm looking at this particular slide here that shows the timing by grade level and subject. So viewers, you can see that here from 3rd grade all the way through high school, English, math, reading, science, and writing, what the timing will be. And the good news is, as you said, they should have been practicing with their teachers over the past few weeks.
Yes, I mean they've definitely been. Actually, they've been practicing as
All
long
year?
as we've known, you know,
Okay.
what tests we would be taking.
Okay.
Now they will probably get better because, as I say, last year the writing test was not timed.
Okay.
And so they've only had this 1 year
Okay.
to practice that. But if we continue taking ACT tests, and they'll continue to be timed, they'll get better and better each year.
Okay.
In fact, what we find is that anytime you change tests, the first year test scores are a little bit lower,
Right,
and
right.
they'll gradually move on up.
And that is, of course, if we continue with the ACT.
And that is a question.
Yeah, yeah. Well, today, viewers, we are talking about a new assessment test that was voted on by the South Carolina legislature that will begin this week. Parents, you've got a job to do. You're going to need to make sure that your children are well rested, that they get plenty of rest, and that they have a healthy breakfast, not loaded up with sugar, okay? Because that sugar, they're going to crash and burn, right? And it might happen during the middle of a test, and we don't want any of that. And again, I want you to take a look at this slide. There is a continuum of progression for these new assessment tests. Today, we're talking about the first one, ACT Aspire, and then after that, we'll talk about the ACT, which is a college entrance exam, and then in just a moment, also ACT WorkKeys. My guest here in the studio today, Dr. Randy Stowe, with Aiken County Public Schools, and he is sharing information that can help you wherever you are in the state of South Carolina. So we want you to stay with us. We've got much more information to share. You're inside of Education Matters with me, Donna Moore Wesby, where learning is living. We'll be right back.
The Will Lou Gray Opportunity School has been serving the beautiful Midlands of South Carolina since 1921. Our mission has evolved over the years, and we now specialize in helping young people move past their obstacles in order to achieve success. We give students opportunities to lead, to develop social skills, to become active in their communities, and to taste success. Don't settle for less than the absolute best for your life. Contact us today to take the next step in your journey toward success.
Why go to college anywhere else? For the past 4 years, U.S. News & World Report has named University of South Carolina, Aiken the #1 top public comprehensive college in the South. You can attend one of the best universities in the nation with more than 49 majors in academic programs, nationally ranked athletics, and great student life. With small classes, the faculty and staff are focused on your success. USC Aiken, the university focused on you.
Margaret's Garden Adult Daycare is coming soon to serve the community of Aiken. We are dedicated to enhancing the emotional, mental, and physical well-being of our clients, allowing seniors to remain in the community as long as possible. A daily fitness plan, games, weekly outings, fine dining, and discussion groups are just a few of the services we offer to keep your loved one active and engaged. Margaret's Garden. We meet you where you are.
Weekends are for resting, relaxing, and recharging your batteries. A good weekend can also give you the time to catch up on business you couldn't get to during the week. For Security Federal Bank customers, that means banking business. What does 7-day banking mean to your banker? More importantly, what does it mean to you? At Security Federal Bank, being open 7 days a week means just that. That's why our Southside branch on Whiskey Road in front of Target is open for business every day, even Saturday and Sunday. We're proud to be the only bank to be open 7 days a week in Aiken County. If we were you, we'd bank with us.
I lead a busy life, but I still have to make sure my family eats right. And everybody loves Dawn's Seasoning Delight. I use Dawn's on meats and vegetables. It's healthy, tastes great, and it's simple to use. It's like having a chef in a bottle.
My seasoning is available at Kroger, Bilo, Food Line, Roots, and Harvest. Look for it on display in the meat department. Also visit seasoningdelight.com for information and recipes. Dawn's Seasoning Delight. It's so good.
If you are interested in becoming an individual or corporate sponsor of Education Matters, contact Donna Moore Wesby at 803-507-6793 or email at donnawesby@aol.com.
Thanks for joining us. Today we're talking about a brand new state testing program in South Carolina here inside of Education Matters, and it's called the ACT. We're talking about a continuum of testing, and joining me today is Dr. Randy Stowe. Now, this new test is called ACT Aspire, which will be given in grades 3 through 8. And students will be tested in reading, writing, English, math, and science. Now, students in grades 4 through 8 will continue to take the SC Pass test, as Dr. Stowe said earlier in today's broadcast, for science and social studies. The Aspire English, Language Arts, and Math test will be given April the 28th through the 30th, okay? The Aspire Science test on May the 5th, and the 2 SC Pass tests will be administered on May 7th and 8th of this year. And again, the biggest change the students will notice is that the subtests do have a time limit, and we showed you the different time limits. So parents, again, we share this information with you. Why? Why should parents be
We want both
concerned?
the parents and the students to know about the test and be familiar with it when they come in on Tuesday morning.
Right.
The more practice the students have on taking tests like this, the more comfortable they'll feel, and the more information the parents have, the more comfortable they'll feel sending their sons and daughters to school to take the test.
Right.
We look forward to the Aspire test. It is a very respected national test. The data we get from it will be of both interest to the parents, because it will have some benchmark information about how they are preparing, and we are talking about a transition,
Right.
starting with third grade, preparing for the ACT college entrance exam, but it will also provide a lot of information for the teachers,
Right.
so that we can identify student strengths and weaknesses, and at the district level we can actually assess our overall program based on the data. So the whole point of testing is to improve instruction, and that's what we really look forward to seeing the scores from our new testing program this summer.
Excellent. Just to close out our discussion on the ACT Aspire, take a look at our clip of the day, which comes from professionals from around the State Department of Education. But this particular clip shows a superintendent with views on benefits of the ACT Aspire. Take a look.
And when I speak to school leaders and teachers, there's a lot of excitement about the potential benefits of the new assessment suite. It's really about communication and increased opportunities for relevant communication with the many stakeholders in our school communities. When you look at students now have an opportunity to use the assessments that they have to take as part of accountability in our state, but they're also able to use those for very important and relevant life decisions like college placement. For parents, they get an opportunity to learn and see concretely or objectively where their students are performing and how ready they are for those wonderful post-secondary opportunities. Teachers look to have more engaged students and parents. That always helps the educational process, but probably most importantly, our business and industry now have a way to understand exactly how prepared our students are, and that increased alignment or communication between education and the business community can only have a positive effect on workforce development.
Speaking of the next step and moving on to the next phase of life, the ACT, the college entrance exam, is one of those exams that gives colleges an indication about a prospective student. Talk to us about the ACT.
Well, as I say, the ACT, most of the parents will be familiar with that. We've been giving the ACT for years.
Mm-hmm.
Typically, students that are college bound will sign up and take it on a Saturday at one of the high schools. And there are two major college entrance exams in this country, the SAT and the ACT.
Okay.
Many of our parents will actually be more familiar with the SAT because 25 years ago, the SAT, at least on the East Coast, was pretty much the only game in town. But the ACT, starting in 2011, is the most often taken college entrance exam.
Okay.
Now, we've actually been recommending that students take both the SAT and the ACT for several years because they're different types of tests.
Yeah, what type of test is the ACT?
The SAT is an aptitude test.
Okay.
In fact, some of the questions...
Which measures what you know at that time?
It's supposed to measure more or less your
Ability?
learning ability.
Ability, yes.
Whereas
okay.
the ACT is an achievement test.
Okay.
It actually tests information that we teach in school.
Okay.
Whereas on the SAT, if you're familiar with the old the logical syllogisms and so forth, I mean, we don't actually teach that in school. It was just a way of assessing vocabulary. But the ACT, the types of questions you see, could have been questions that you've had in one of your regular classes.
Okay.
So as an achievement test, it has a different format. Some students tend to do a little bit better on the SAT. Some students tend to do a little bit better on the ACT. But as I said, for the last 4 years, more students in this country have taken the ACT than the SAT.
Okay, so I see on the ACT College Readiness Benchmarks that based on the ACT analysis of actual student performance in college, so how does a college, how are they able to assess how well a child will do in college from this test?
Okay, and this, I need to explain the ACT college benchmarks.
Okay.
Okay, and
help me out here, Dr.
the ACT scores, you know, they've been given that test for years and years.
Right.
And they analyze the success of the students in college every year.
Okay.
And they look and what they can do based on their research on a yearly basis, they can say that given the level of rigor at our college, if you make this score,
okay,
you have a 75% or an 80% chance of making a B or better at our school. And every school has studied that data.
Okay.
And so by looking at the scores, they can make a good assessment of how successful, a prediction of how successful a student will be at their particular school.
Okay.
Because all colleges have different levels of rigor. But the actual benchmarks, ACT studies those, and their benchmark numbers actually might change based on the data.
Okay.
And so it's actually a very dynamic assessment program. Might be one reason why more and more students are taking it.
Yeah.
And colleges do accept the ACT and the SAT equally. Both of them are good predictors of success in college. And if you just take one or the other, that's fine. But we are typically recommending that students take both, because some students do better on one type of test and some students do better on the other.
That's exactly right. And with this particular slide, it discusses that there's a direct link between what students have learned and what they are ready to learn next. So I could see the validity to colleges for the ACT exam. And like you said, colleges have different admission qualifications based on SAT and ACT scores. So if you're a student and you are interested in applying for a particular college, make sure you look at the minimum scores that that particular college is looking for the SAT and ACT. Any other guidance there, Dr. Stowe?
Well, if I were planning on going to college, I'd also visit the college, because
Definitely.
every college has a different environment, a different culture. You want to visit the school and see if you feel that you fit in. And you'll be surprised how many students say have been, during their entire high school career, they said, I want to go here or I want to go there, and they visit it. As soon as they come back, no, I'm going to look somewhere else, because I just did not feel comfortable there. But I would absolutely recommend that anyone visit the colleges that you're interested in.
And the ACT does have a fee, correct?
Well, if you take it on Saturday, the ACT has a fee.
Okay.
That's actually one of the benefits of our new program, because every student in the state now gets to take the ACT for free.
Is that just for 11th graders, though? Seems like
It's just for 11th graders.
Yeah.
But at the same time, that score can still, in
stay
fact,
with
most
you.
of them will be sent to colleges. In fact, on the ACT, and in fact, we're doing that a lot this week, trying to get ready, or have been doing that this last week, trying to get ready for the testing this week. But it takes about an hour and a half to fill out the answer blank before you take the test. And
what?
Well, there's an interest survey.
Oh yes, and online.
Well, actually, it's on the answer blank for us. Okay, and we've actually scheduled pre-testing sessions.
Okay.
So that the answer documents are filled out, and there is an interest survey that takes about 20 or 30 minutes, but then there are a lot of other questions.
Right.
Have you taken a college prep curriculum? In fact,
it sets up almost like a profile.
It is. It's definitely a profile, but we've actually printed out unofficial transcripts for our students, because it also asks, what English courses have you taken, what math courses have you taken, what science courses have you taken. You have to fill that into your answer document. And it asks a lot of other questions that give the colleges more information.
Yeah.
And so somewhere between an hour and a half filling out the answer document before you actually take the test this week.
I'm glad you brought that up, because our youngest son is about to enter his senior year in college. Lord have mercy. I cannot believe that time has gone by that fast. But I can remember him registering for the ACT for the first time online and having to complete that long profile. But then after he took those standardized tests, the SAT and ACT, he started getting information from colleges without him even soliciting those details from the colleges. Is this a direct result of students completing that profile information?
It could be that, or it could even be having taken the PSAT, which is the practice SAT, or in the past having taken a test called PLAN.
Oh, okay.
Which now the PLAN is the practice test for the ACT.
Okay.
But now the 9th and 10th grade ASPIRE is the practice test for starting this year. But when you take those practice tests, which we have been providing, at least in Aiken County, for free to all of our 10th graders, you fill out a lot of information, and colleges do use that as a recruiting tool. And most of the students appreciate the colleges sending them information. I remember even back when I was there, looking through the little brochures and the pictures of the campus, because see, students don't understand the concept of a campus.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that they've got to do something other than just go to class, that there are all sorts of other activities at a college.
That's why those tours are important, like you said.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Visit the schools where you might be interested.
Right,
But it also gives students a chance very early to start thinking about what colleges they want to apply to.
Okay.
And typically students will take the college entrance exams in the spring of their junior year, which this test will take care of the of the ACT for them.
Right.
And then we would recommend that unless they scored really high, that they take it again in the fall of their senior year, pretty early, because college applications need to be sent in no later than Christmas, and sometimes even earlier. But in many cases, the senior score is actually a little higher than the junior score because it's the second time you've taken the test, and there is always
more acclimated,
little bit more familiar with the types of questions, but you also have typically 6 months more of instruction.
Okay, very good. Now I also noticed, we talked a little bit ago about on the ACT Aspire that there was no penalty for guessing, and I see that the same is true for the ACT.
Yes.
Okay, very good. Well, let's move on to the features of the ACT real quickly before we go into WorkKeys, that students will all actually get scores. Talk about the scoring of or the results that students will get and how they are to understand their scores.
Okay, and that's part of why they fill out that answer document in advance. They basically put their mailing address on it, and so the scores are actually mailed to them. But also, on that day when they fill out that answer document, they get to specify what colleges will receive their scores, and I think they can indicate up to 4 colleges.
That's correct.
And
for
so
free, for free score
right.
reports.
Oh yes, you have to pay extra if you send to more. But that gives them a chance to start thinking about, well, these are the 4 schools that I want to consider.
Right.
And a lot of students in Aiken might list Aiken Tech and USC Aiken, but there might be some students that are planning on going anywhere, in the country. We might even have some going to New England or the West Coast, and they can specify those colleges. But when they do all of that, they need to be thinking about what their scores are. Okay, now the score that the colleges are typically interested in is the composite score. Now on the ACT, students can score between 1 and 36. 36 is the great
beyond me. I'm telling you,
the perfect score.
I don't know about John, but it's beyond me.
But each subtest has a subscore, and then the average of all those, except for the writing, average those together, and that gives you a composite score. And typically that's what you hear about. Somebody will say, I scored a 21 or I scored a 26. And that's the score that typically gets submitted to the colleges. Although, believe it or not, the colleges do look at the subscores, and colleges also look at your transcript to see what kind of courses you're taking. They take a little time to check out your background, because they want to accept students that will be successful at their colleges.
Very good. Now, parents and students, here's a slide for you. There are resources available for the ACT test taking tips, free test preparation material. Just go to that website that you see there on that slide, act.org/QOTD. All right. And of course, you can just always go and type in ACT, and all of the information will come up there as well. Now let's move on to ACT WorkKeys.
Okay.
What is ACT WorkKeys?
WorkKeys is a career readiness exam.
Okay.
Now, we'll be taking that on Wednesday, the 11th graders. And that's actually one of our concerns, because they're going to take a 4-hour ACT test on Tuesday and then WorkKeys on Wednesday. And I wish there were several weeks in between. And if we keep doing this, I'm sure next year we'll look at planning on that, because it's not ideal to take the 2 tests 2 days in a row. But on WorkKeys, it's 3 45-minute tests.
Okay.
It's basically an applied reading and applied math, and then a third one, it's locating information, which is sort of a research type skill. And these scores will result in a certificate. And typically the certificate is listed as a bronze certificate, silver, gold, or platinum.
Okay.
And they can use that in order to apply for jobs. And I'll give you a good example of the value of a WorkKeys certificate. Last summer, I was in a workshop, and there were some speakers from Boeing down in Charleston. And they made this comment: we value a WorkKeys certificate more than a high school diploma.
You're kidding.
And you know, we were trying to figure out, of course, remember, in terms of high school diplomas, you've got state high school diploma, homeschool diploma,
right,
private school, and so forth. And what they have with WorkKeys is, since this is a national test and they've had these scores for several years, they have aligned every function within their plant. And they can predict whether somebody will be successful at this job based on this WorkKeys score.
Wow.
And so he made the comment, we value a WorkKeys certificate more than a high school diploma. And it was because they understand what those scores mean. And remember, everybody across the country is taking the same test, whereas high school diplomas might vary.
Right.
Whereas that WorkKeys certificate gives them a common measurement to see how well they will do. And remember, it's applied reading, applied math, applied research.
And when you say applied, elaborate on that.
It is related specifically to the types of jobs that are necessary to be successful in the workplace.
And I love that, because oftentimes we hear so many young people say, I'll never use this math again. I'll never use this stuff again. And to have a test that, you know, actually helps them to make the connection, I think is very important. And I pray it's something that will continue, because I hear there is definitely momentum throughout the country for the National Career Readiness Certificate, the WorkKeys certificate. And I see their credentials. It's evidence-based, industry recognized, used to document essential skills linked to the workplace. So it's something that is, I think, can be very beneficial and helpful to helping our young people to gain independence, to move on to that next phase of their lives.
Well, I would agree with that. In fact, I think probably of the three tests, the WorkKeys is the most valuable.
All right.
Because
we're going to hold it right there. We're going to let you pick up on it in just a moment. Look, he's ready. He's on the edge of his seat. Join us in just a minute. We'll be right back.
Greetings and welcome to another Teaching on Purpose moment. I'm Dr. Mayretha Willis, and today we will continue our discussion on differentiation in your classroom. Check this out. A lot of times we are overwhelmed with data, but I want to share with you how you can select the data that's most meaningful to you from a vertical and horizontal grade level perspective, from a classroom perspective, and from an individual class perspective. About creating center boards using data to differentiate instruction in your classroom. I want to thank you for joining me today for another Teaching on Purpose moment. And to learn more about differentiating in your classroom, visit us at www.teachingonpurpose.com. And thank you for being a top educator.
Thank you, Dr. Mayretha Willis, for being a top educator yourself and for sharing your knowledge with us. To close us out today is Dr. Randy Stowe. He's back with us, and I had to cut him off before we went to that little break there, but make your point, Dr. Stowe.
No, I just wanted to make the point that very rarely do students take a test and the score report would be as valuable as a WorkKeys score report. And they refer to it as a portable workplace credential. And that's something that they would want to hang on to, and it would become basically part of their portfolio. When they go to apply for a job, they want to have that WorkKeys certificate with them. And parents are going to start seeing more and more about WorkKeys certificates.
That's good.
In addition to my responsibilities in the district in terms of testing, I'm also in charge of substitute teachers. And as a basic criterion to become a substitute teacher, we give the WorkKeys test.
Okay, good.
If you apply in our district to become a teacher's aide, you have to pass the WorkKeys test. And in the past, there was a test called Parapro that had to do with, we refer to it as highly qualified, but we're using WorkKeys now for highly qualified. So it's important piece of applying for a job.
Very good. Today we've talked about the ACT Aspire, the ACT and ACT WorkKeys. There's so much information available to you. Those of you in South Carolina, just go to the South Carolina Department of Education's website. Real quickly, Dr. Stowe, what should students be prepared for to get them ready this week? What should they do?
Well,
30 seconds, Dr. Stowe.
Parents, make sure they get a good night's sleep and have a good breakfast. And don't make your children nervous about the test.
All right.
They'll be doing the same kind of material, covering the same kind of material that they do routinely. Just tell them to do their best.
All right. And for students?
Tell them, do your best.
All right. Students, do your best. And that's all you got to do. And we thank you so much. You were awesome.
You.
And we will have you back because we definitely want to explore a little more WorkKeys and make sure our students are equipped to do what they need to do to make a successful life for themselves in the future. Well, that's it for Education Matters today. We thank you so much for joining us. And remember, you can watch this broadcast again and again on YouTube, okay? My name is Donna Moore Wesby, your host of Education Matters, where learning is living. Have a fantastic day.